Just Mercy is a nonfiction novel by Bryan Stevenson in which he talks about his experiences as a lawyer. He covers his life and progression through America's legal system, specifically in a few states such as Alabama, and creating the Equal Justice Initiative, in which he helps death row prisoners. It saves their lives because in Just Mercy, he describes how a lot of these people didn't get the fair trials that they deserved or were punished unfairly for things they might have not even done. And even the criminals who did commit the crimes that they were sentenced for still deserves a bit of mercy. He brings humanity into a lot of the depths of cruelty and injustice by recognizing that everyone needs a redemptive chance. Bryan Stevenson is one of the few people that I consider to be genuinely selfless, and his book, Just Mercy, is one of the best coverages of humanity, even in criminals, that I've ever seen. This novel covers a lot of different topics and a lot of different cases in law, so I'll just talk about the main one Just Mercy focuses on, which is a guy named Walter. Walter is not very particularly educated, but he was a decent, hardworking individual whose only crime was dating a white woman, and since he was Black, this would be a crime in the 1970s of Alabama. Then, tragedy strikes Monroeville, which is where Walter lives. An 18-year-old girl is found to be dead from gunshot wounds. The police are scrambling to find someone who could have committed this crime since everyone really liked this girl and felt that she didn't deserve to die. After a few months of fruitless accusations and pointless suspects, the police are completely incapable of finding a lead. Then, a series of unlucky events leads to a man named Ralph Myers lying about his and Walter's involvement in the crime. The Alabama police seize this opportunity, arrest Walter for trumped up charges, and then charge him separately for what Ralph has said. Walter has no clue what he's been arrested for because he didn't commit the crime. And using bogus evidence, and which could have been easily disproven by a number of other witnesses, the police face Walter at a trial and Walter loses. He is put to death row where he is waiting execution. The townspeople are elated that someone has actually been arrested for such a horrendous crime, but Walter is desperate because he knows he hasn't done anything wrong and that the evidence used against him are by two lying witnesses. He calls Bryan Stevenson, and Bryan works to try and somehow push past the many racist and biased stereotypes that are blocking the true evidence from showing to light, and trying to secure Walter's second trial to make sure he can get off free for a crime he never committed. Meanwhile, Bryan doesn't only talk with the person sent to his death row, Walter, but even talks with the victims of the tragedy, the family of the 18-year-old girl. They're surprised that someone actually genuinely cares about the tragedy itself rather than scream for an arrest. Bryan reflects on this later and realizes that all of these people have been broken by a collective incident and that they all really deserve a bit of, well, understanding and mercy in order to get out of that. Just Mercy also covers a series of other cases, none of them as detailed as Walter's, but they're also interjected in between the cases. Some of them are on just like 13 to 15-year-old boys who committed minor crimes being sentenced harshly to life or even to execution, despite the others who actually led them to the crimes getting off lightly without much punishment. It shows how unfairly and extremely many American states treat children who are arrested for a crime, especially since they have no clue how to get a lawyer or defend themselves in court. This book also talks about the horrible conditions in prison, especially for women and children who are often abused, and especially for women, they lose their children to foster homes. Bryan touches on the effects of intergenerational trauma on children who are born into a criminal family, and the effects of completely unloving homes or abusive homes on children who grow up to be just as broken as adults in the system. It really criticizes the American legal system incredibly well, not just on false trials, but even on genuine ones that were technically fine, but led to incredibly difficult punishments for people who didn't really deserve them. Just Mercy is a fantastic book in basically every regard. It has some law terminology like habeas corpus or perjury, and it's great if you want to know about them, or just want to learn about the American legal system, or you just already enjoy law in the first place. It uses the very general theme of mercy to create empathy for those that hadn't even thought about, like, deserved it, right? Bryan uses the idea that no one is really defined by their worst moments to justify his work. He understands that some people are criminals, but he frees people from certain death and execution and reduces their sentences because he knows that no one really deserves it. This is especially true for children imprisoned in life sentences or sentenced to a death because they grow up in a horrible adult prison environment, or they just die and they fail to learn the world around them. Everyone really deserves mercy at one point because it's the only way you can really reconcile with tragedy. He found that out when working on Walter's case. Walter's arrest and that 18-year-old death changed everything for the entire community, not just for those two people. The family was impacted, tons of people were impacted, and obviously Walter was impacted significantly as well. these events not only break people's like spirituality and belief in the legal system, but even further perpetuates stereotypes and racism, especially when they use unfair trials or just completely bogus evidence to try and prove their claims. Again, Just Mercy shows a lot of the flaws in the legal system, and it's founded on historical racist policies that introduces really strong bias to courtrooms, resulting in really unfair trials like Walter's. In general, I'd say the best part about Just Mercy is the fact that it uses the idea of mercy so incredibly well, because just the title of Just Mercy is actually a dual meaning. The first version of Just Mercy is the just as in only mercy, just mercy. It perpetuates the idea that, well, all we really need to solve a lot of problems is just mercy, only mercy. A bit of mercy is all that a lot of people need to heal a community or the arrested. But besides that definition of just mercy, there's also the idea that, well, the just injustice, correct mercy, justified mercy. And I think that also makes sense as well in this context, because a lot of these people don't deserve the horrible sentences they've gotten or punished for crimes they didn't commit. It is justice, in a way, to give people mercy that they deserve. Now I'll just dedicate a bit of time to talking about what I think Bryan Stevenson's MBTI is, and I think it's ENFJ. I'm going to approach this from a cognitive functions point of view. He uses FE throughout the book, extroverted feeling, because he helps people whenever he can. He doesn't say no to cases. He finds it incredibly difficult to deny people help and tries to make everyone happy. One notable example of him using FE, not FI, is when the judge assumes he's a convict because of his skin color and tries to force him out of the courtroom. Bryan calmly explains that he is a lawyer and doesn't decide to escalate the situation or defend his own person, because he knows that by arguing with the judge, he's making his client have a more difficult case in the trial. In this way, he's trying to ensure emotional stability, everyone, harmony, no fighting, no defending himself, because he knows that it's not the best for his the person he's defending. This is a very notable example of extroverted feeling over introvert feeling. He cares more about the harmony than his own values. His NI, which is his second function of the ENFJ, I think is also pretty obvious, because he tries to constantly find a deeper meaning and reasoning behind observations. He digs deep into his clients' backgrounds and histories, understanding their childhood, especially for people who were imprisoned as a child. He easily spots weakness in the legal system and criticizes them, eventually using introverted intuition to converge his understanding into a singular theme of mercy. Due to this, I think it's pretty obvious that he should probably be an ENFJ, and I think it's one of the best cases of one that is genuinely empathetic and good. In conclusion, Just Mercy is an amazing, moving argument for showing humanity even to people that we despise, going past discrimination-based books by actively showing kindness to criminals who committed crimes even on their own accord. It surprised me when I read the book, and I genuinely felt bad and empathetic for people Bryan specifies did do crimes. The book's message is simple. We are not defined by our worst moments. Everyone deserves mercy, and it's the only way we can heal what's broken.